Nova sat by her bedroom window, staring out at the busy street below. She watched people hurry by, each in their own world. Some rushed to work, while others walked their dogs or chatted with friends. Nova liked to imagine their lives. What were their dreams? Their fears? She sipped her tea and thought about her own life. Every day felt the same. She woke up, made breakfast, and went to school. Sometimes she felt invisible. Nova often felt caught in a web of expectations. Her parents wanted her to study hard and become a doctor. They said it made a good life. But Nova had other dreams. She wanted to be an artist. She wanted to paint. She wanted to share her feelings and ideas through colors and shapes. Every time she picked up a brush, she felt free. But deep down, she worried about what others thought. Would her parents support her if she chose art over medicine? Would they be proud? In school, Nova often stayed quiet. Her classmates did not talk about dreams or passions. They talked about grades and tests. The pressure to succeed weighed heavy on her shoulders. She noticed how much her friends focused on getting perfect scores. Their parents, like hers, expected the best. It felt like a race where everyone wanted to win, but what if winning meant losing yourself? After school, Nova would go to the art club. There she felt different. The walls were bright with paintings and sketches. The air was filled with laughter and creativity. Everyone in the club understood her. They shared stories about their passions. They felt free to express themselves without judgment. It was the one time Nova felt truly alive, but even in this safe space, little voices in her head whispered doubts. What if this isn't good enough? What if it leads to failure? As Nova painted, she remembered moments when she did not feel accepted. She recalled the time she showed her parents her first painting. They looked at it but didn't smile. "It's nice, Nova. But have you worked on your science project?" They never seemed to focus on her art. Their words hung in the air, making her feel small. She thought, "Do they even see me?" These reflections made her more anxious. Nova watched her friends get into good colleges, while she feared her art would derail her from a typical path. She wanted to escape that feeling. It felt unfair. Why did society value certain choices over others? Why did she have to fit into a box that didn't feel right? Today she decided things must change. Nova took a deep breath. As she prepared to start a new painting, she thought about how her art might help others understand her struggles. Maybe she could show people that following your passion is important. Maybe she could change her story. She picked up her brush with renewed hope. If she could express her emotions through art, perhaps she could inspire others to chase their dreams too. In that moment, Nova felt a flicker of courage ignite within her, ready to take on whatever came next. Nova was excited as she entered the art club one afternoon. Today they held a special event. They invited local artists to share their experiences. Nova couldn't wait to hear their stories. Perhaps their words would inspire her. She hoped these artists faced similar challenges. Maybe they could show her a way to follow her passion. As the event began, Nova listened closely. The first artist, Elena, spoke about her journey. She explained that many people doubted her path. "My family wanted me to study business," she said. "They thought art was a waste of time." Nova smiled at Elena's courage. She felt a connection. Elena continued, "But I knew art was my calling." Her words encouraged Nova. However, not everyone felt the same way. One student in the back raised their hand and said, "But art doesn't pay well. You can't live on dreams." This comment hung in the air, cold and heavy. Nova's heart sank. Why did people believe that following passion was wrong? Nova knew life could be practical and still filled with joy. She wanted to shout, "Art is worth it." The room fell silent for a moment. Elena took a deep breath and answered, "Following your heart matters. It's not just about money." Nova admired Elena even more. She saw how this artist stood strong against doubts. Even with opposition, she believed in her dreams. As Nova listened, she thought about her own ambitions. She remembered her fear of not fulfilling her parents' expectations. Later, Nova approached Elena after the event. She wanted to ask for advice. Nervously, she said, "What if my family thinks my art is silly?" Elena smiled gently. "It is tough. You must find your voice. Do what brings you joy. Others might not understand, but that's okay." Nova felt empowered by her words. Words from a real artist made her hope stronger. On her way home, Nova noticed something troubling as she walked through the neighborhood. She saw a group of kids waiting for a bus. They laughed, but it sounded mean. They made fun of a girl who wore old clothes and a little backpack. Nova's heart hurt for that girl. Why did they act that way? She felt a different kind of pressure. It was the pressure to fit in, to look a certain way, and to follow the popular route. Deep inside, she understood that insecurity caused this. At dinner that night, Nova felt troubled. What if I am judged for my dreams? She gazed at her plate of food, lost in thoughts. Her parents chatted about important matters like jobs and grades. They never considered how her heart felt. It was all about society's view of success. She wanted to speak up but felt too scared to share her dreams. That evening, Nova sat down to create a new painting. She thought louder than ever. I must break free from these doubts. The mix of feelings weighed on her. The world around her seemed to guide everyone toward one ideal path. The story of the girl at the bus stop reminded Nova too much of herself. A fear of judgment and a longing to belong. Yet, hope always lived in her heart. She knew she must find a way to push against social norms and make her passion heard. By the end of the night, inspiration filled her. Despite twists and challenges, Nova felt determined to shine through her art. She would paint her truth, showing the world that following your dreams mattered. Her journey had just begun, but she now believed that she could face the waves of doubt. Words from Elena rang in her ears. With confidence growing inside, Nova took her brush and started to paint her vision into reality. The next day at school, Nova could not shake the feelings from the night before. She thought about her painting and how her art could mean something. But as classes began, doubt crept back in. She looked around at her classmates, lost in their conversations. They discussed exams and study plans. She felt out of place, like a puzzle piece that didn't fit. When lunch came, Nova sat with her friends. They joked and laughed, but she felt distant. She wanted to talk about her art, but fear tightly gripped her heart. Just then, her friend Mia turned to her. Nova, do you have any plans for college yet? You know, like a real major. Nova's stomach churned. Mia's tone sounded so certain, pushing for what everyone expected. Why did her dreams seem small compared to everyone else's? Nova took a breath and forced a smile. I want to focus on art. Her voice felt soft, almost lost in the noise around them. Her friends giggled, not really understanding. Art? But you'll need a real job later. Sam chimed in. His laughter echoed, hitting Nova hard. The pressure built like fog in her mind. She thought, maybe they are right. Can I really be an artist? After lunch, Nova headed to her art class. She could see her teacher, Mr. Jenkins, setting up supplies. He was encouraging and upbeat, always ready to share new ideas. As class started, Nova shared her latest painting with him. But when he looked at her work, his expression changed. This looks good, Nova, but I think you need to study more about technique. If you want to make art your future, you should consider what sells. His words cut deep. Instead of feeling proud, she felt pushed into a box. Everyone seemed to agree that art was less important. They had a path for success already laid out. It painted a clear picture in her mind, one of safety but also of fear. The more people she talked to, the more she felt trapped in this cycle of doubt. Rejection loomed like a dark cloud over her hopes. After school, Nova met with a few friends she had known since childhood. They gathered at the local park to relax. The bright sun warmed their faces, but Nova felt cold inside. They were in their worlds, discussing future careers and dreams. I got an internship at a bank, one friend exclaimed. I can't wait to make real money. Others cheered, and Nova forced a smile. Then Nova heard someone mention art again. You should only do it for fun, not work, said a boy from her group. Artists don't make much money. It is just a hobby. A chill ran down her spine. She felt waves of negativity crashing against her decisions. It was as if a wall rose around her. Tension tightened in her chest as the thought struck her. Will anyone take me seriously? On the way home, Nova felt heavy with each step. She realized how strong social norms could be. It seemed that everyone around her thought success meant a traditional job. She feared that if she followed her heart, she might lose the respect of her friends and family. It felt unfair and lonely, like treading water in a storm. By the time she arrived home, the weight on her heart was unshakable. She wanted so much for herself. But how could she fight back against so many voices telling her otherwise? The realization hit her hard. Society often placed people in boxes, telling them who they should be. Nova knew she had to break free from this pressure. That evening, sitting alone in her room, she decided to channel her feelings into her art. She picked up her brush, determined to reflect her struggles on the canvas. Slowly, her fears transformed into colors. The tension still lingered, but now it poured out in strokes of paint. Even in the midst of outside pressures, Nova aimed to express her truth, hoping that one day, others might understand. Nova woke up with a heavy heart. Today was the school art exhibition. This was a chance for her to showcase her work, but instead of excitement, she felt terror. What if her painting wasn't good enough? What if no one valued her art? The thoughts raced through her mind like a storm. Nothing felt right, and she questioned if she had the courage to step forward in front of everyone. At breakfast, Nova sat quietly, barely touching her toast. Her parents chatted about the exhibition, but all she could think of was fear. Her father said, "Nova, this is important for your future. You need to show what you've worked on." His words felt like an unseen pressure on her shoulders. What if they were not proud of her painting? She didn't want to disappoint them. But deep down, Nova longed for them to see her for who she truly was. When she arrived at the school, the hall was filled with students and parents. The walls were lined with colorful artwork. Every piece had its own story. Nova searched for her painting, hoping it would stand out. As she walked, whispers echoed around her, judging and evaluating every creation. A wave of self-doubt washed over her again. It was hard to remember that every person faced these struggles. Still, she feared the truth would not matter. As the exhibition began, Nova's heart raced faster. Other students stood proudly by their pieces. They spoke with confidence while she remained silent. Finally, her chance came as a teacher called her name. Nova stepped forward and presented her painting. It was vibrant and raw, filled with colors that showed her fears and dreams. She poured her heart into it, hoping others would feel the same way. But as she looked into the crowd, she noticed familiar faces filled with criticism. Some whispered, "It looks like a child made it." Others laughed quietly, pointing at her piece. Nova felt as if the earth had opened beneath her. This was the moment she feared the most. High stakes loomed over her. Would she break down or stand her ground? In the middle of all this noise, she heard a voice from the back. It was one of her classmates, Ben. He yelled, "Art is about feeling. You don't understand." Nova's heart thrilled with a mix of fear and support. His words opened a door to the room. Did she have the power to fight back against the norms? But doubt returned quickly. She thought of her parents' expectations, her friends' laughter, and the norm that success looked a certain way. What if this risk meant losing their support? What if they would never accept her dreams if she continued down this path? Her entire body trembled at the thought of rejection. She wanted to run away and hide from it all. As the event went on, Nova stood frozen in place. All around her, the applause and laughter felt like a distant sound. Slowly, the worry built up inside her like an enormous wave ready to crash down. Her heart raced, and she knew this moment would decide her fate. She could either stay silent and hide or speak her truth and risk everything. Fueled by Ben's words, she thought of how lonely life felt when she did not follow her passion. This was more than just art. This was her voice, her identity. As the criticism echoed in her ears, Nova knew she must decide. In that moment, she chose to stand tall. She recalled the joy painting brought her. She decided she would no longer let fear drive her life. The stakes had never been higher. Nova could either embrace her art or let societal norms crush her dreams. She took a deep breath, ready to face whatever came next. With all her courage, Nova took her brush and prepared to reclaim her story. Nova took a deep breath and stepped in front of the crowd. Her heart raced faster than ever, pounding in her chest like a drum. She felt a mix of fear and excitement whirl in her stomach. Could she really speak out? Could she challenge what everyone expected her to be? In that moment, she made a decision that would change her life. "Everyone," Nova said, her voice shaking, but she pushed through. "I want to share something important." The crowd fell silent, all eyes on her. She could see familiar faces, friends, and teachers. The laughter from before faded into the background as the room focused on her. Nova paused, feeling the weight of her words. She needed to be brave. "Art is not just about technique or making money," she continued. "It is about expression. It shows our feelings and stories." Nova looked at her classmates, hoping they would understand. It is my voice, and it should be heard. The initial quiet began to shift. Some students whispered, looking at each other. Others nodded, starting to appreciate her courage. But then Nova's classmate Jenna jumped in with a sharp tone. But art won't pay the bills, Jenna said, her voice loud and certain. Do you really want to be poor? Think ahead. A wave of agreement washed through the room. Nova's heart sank at her words. The stakes rose even higher. It was as if a battle began right in front of her. Nova felt her pulse quicken. What if Jenna was right? What if following her dreams meant a struggle? Doubt crept back into her mind, but she remembered the warmth of the brushes in her hand and the way colors danced on her canvas. She gathered her voice again, trying to stay strong. But living a life without passion makes us poor in spirit, Nova replied. You can have both. Art can be your passion and your job. We should encourage each other, not push our friends into boxes. A murmur flowed through the crowd. The tension made her heart race. People began to look at each other, some considering her words. A few friends smiled in support, standing closer to her side. Nova's chest swelled with hope, but the pressure felt unrelenting. Then Mr. Jenkins stepped forward, clear authority in his posture. Nova, while your heart is in the right place, you must understand there are rules to follow, he said sternly. Life is about making safe choices. His voice felt like a cold wave crashing over her. Safe choices. Nova found the strength to reply, her voice rising. What if those safe choices bury my dreams? What if I never try to be who I want to be? The crowd fell silent again. Her breath caught in her throat, action hanging in the air. The room felt heavy with emotions. Nova could feel the eyes of her peers judging her next move, balancing acceptance against risk. A student in the back called out, "But Matt might be too risky for you, Nova." The words stung, filled with worry and doubt, but also concern. Nova took a deep breath. The moment became electric. She realized that to fight for her art was not only about her personal dreams, but about inspiring others to have courage as well. In that split second, Nova decided to share one last truth. She turned back to their teacher, her voice strong. If I don't try now, I will always regret it. That will be my real failure. People nodded, and Nova felt the shift in energy. She raised her hands as if inviting them all to join her journey. That moment sparked something inside her. If they could understand her fight, perhaps they too could fight for their own dreams. All Nova wished was to be true to herself. It was time to embrace her passion fully and fearlessly. The stakes were high, but she knew that facing this challenge was worth every moment. Nova stood strong, ready to face the outcome, whatever it may be. The atmosphere in the hall shifted with Nova's bold words. After her speech, a sense of silence wrapped around the crowd. Students whispered among themselves, some nodding in agreement. Nova felt a weight lift, knowing she had been brave enough to express her truth. Yet, she still sensed uncertainty lingering. What would happen next? Would people accept her message? As the exhibition continued, some students approached Nova. I never thought about art that way, one classmate said. Maybe I should try expressing myself too. Nova smiled at their words, seeing the small victory in their openness. Change was starting and it filled her with hope. Others added their thoughts, sharing how they needed more courage in their own lives. Each supportive voice added to her growing confidence. Yet, not everyone was pleased. Jenna, who had challenged Nova most fiercely, stood with crossed arms and said loudly, "Just because you think art is all that matters doesn't make it true. We all need money and security." The words struck like cold water, and Nova could feel the atmosphere change again. Fear still gripped the hearts of some students, clouding their views. Mr. Jenkins stood to the side, watching quietly. A part of him admired Nova's courage, but he also worried about the message she sent. After the exhibition, he called Nova aside. "I must talk to you privately," he said. His tone was serious. Nova's heart sank. Did he disagree with her? Nova felt the tension return. In the quiet of the classroom, Mr. Jenkins spoke gently. "You have passion, Nova. But remember to balance your dreams with reality." He continued, "Art can be a great hobby, but don't lose sight of your future." Nova felt disappointment wash over her. Was he not listening? She wanted him to hear her dreams and understand her journey. His words felt discouraging, yet she realized they reflected society's pressure. "Mr. Jenkins, I understand what you mean," Nova replied, finding strength in her words. But if I don't follow my passion, I might not be truly happy. I want to inspire others too. Her honesty surprised even herself. Nova felt tears filling her eyes yet stood firm. Would he understand her desire for change? After a moment of silence, Mr. Jenkins softened. Maybe I did not give your words enough thought. Change takes time, and I appreciate your courage. His acceptance relieved some of the weight on Nova's shoulders. It felt good to have an adult who saw her perspective. They had a common ground and she was grateful for that. Days passed after the exhibition, and Nova's heart still felt light. The drama of that day left an impact, not just on her but on the entire art club. The students began to explore not only traditional subjects, but also self-expressive projects. Together, they started to challenge their beliefs about success. Slowly, the art club turned into a space where students felt safe to share their fears, dreams, and joys. The changes did not come without struggles. Jenna continued to express her doubts, but the others began standing up for their passions. Art is important, some would say. It doesn't have to be just a hobby. Little by little, a shift occurred. Nova couldn't change the world overnight, but she could see how putting herself out there had ignited conversations among her peers. Nova knew there was a long journey ahead. Even when doubt crept back into her heart, she felt braver. She found ways to express herself, linking her emotions with her art. The path would not be easy. She still had to navigate her parents' expectations and society's standards. Yet she felt proud of who she was becoming. This experience showed her that small victories mattered, and how essential it was to pursue her truth. The echoes of that day would guide her through her art and life, illuminating a path to follow her heart relentlessly. In the days following the exhibition, Nova felt a change in the air. Her words resonated, sparking discussions not only in the art club, but also in the wider school community. Students began to share their stories and passions more openly, creating a buzz of inspiration that traveled through the halls. They spoke excitedly about their interests and dreams beyond just grades and conventional paths. One afternoon, as Nova walked down the hallway, she overheard a group of students discussing their own artistic projects. "I've decided to paint a mural," one girl said. "I wanted to show how we feel about the world." Nova's heart sank with joy to hear this. She felt proud of the change she had inspired. Art was opening up conversations that had once felt taboo or risky. The school's principal took notice of this shift as well. She announced a new initiative. "We will start an art week to celebrate creativity." Nova's excitement soared. Now the whole school would embrace artistic expression. Several teachers joined in, offering their support. "This is a wonderful way to connect," one teacher said. "Art helps build community, showing us that we all have unique voices." Yet, not everything felt perfect. In the weeks that followed, Nova still noticed resistance. Some students whispered skeptical remarks about the new focus on art. Many didn't see art as a serious pursuit. Jenna was one of them. She still thought art was too risky. "Why waste time on something that won't pay the bills?" Jenna asked during a discussion one day. Creations made to speak our feelings seemed naive to her. Nova felt her heart sink, but she also understood that change takes time. Even those who supported Nova were sometimes unsure. Some parents voiced concerns about the focus away from academic subjects. "We hope our children will find good jobs someday," they insisted. The worry made Nova uneasy. She wished everyone could see the value in pursuing passions. It was their right to express themselves. Why was it so hard for others to recognize this? Even Mr. Jenkins faced some resistance from colleagues when he encouraged the new art program. He had to defend his support for the students' needs and passions. Art should be part of a balanced education. It enriches students, he argued. Nova knew it would take a lot of fighting to overcome the old ideas that art was trivial. It was clear that while her voice sparked change, this change was in the early stages. Nova also confronted her own internal doubts. Even with success around her, she worried whether her path was truly meaningful. Was she strong enough to keep inspiring others? After an exciting meeting about Art Week, she felt herself slipping into anxiety. Would people really continue to follow their feelings? The voices of doubt weren't easily silenced. In order to move past this, Nova wrote down her thoughts. Taking her pen, she worked late into the night on her feelings, turning worry into words. Slowly, writing helped her find clarity. Art was important for all, including herself. Each painting told a story, creating a web of connections among people. This was something worth fighting for. During those tough moments, Nova leaned on support from her friends in the art club. They met to discuss their feelings and ideas, sharing encouragement in their passions. The community began to grow stronger. Each creative mind reminded the other of their worth. They were together, cultivating a positive path toward more acceptance. Nova finally felt that the ripples of her actions were beginning to change tides, even though the current was not always smooth. With determination and unity, they would continue to tread this newfound path, leaning into their passions little by little. As Nova stood in front of her completed mural during the art week, she felt a wave of warmth wash over her. So much had changed since that day at the exhibition. People now gathered to celebrate creativity. Each artwork on display told a unique story. Nova smiled as students shared their projects and talked about their creative journeys. This new wave of support sparked a harmony that filled the room. It was heartwarming to know that they were embracing their passions together. Reflecting on her journey, Nova thought back to all the challenges she had faced. In the beginning, fear held her back from following her true desire to be an artist. She worried about what her friends and family would think. Those doubts seemed so strong and heavy. But she also felt proud of the strength she had discovered. By speaking out about her dreams, she moved toward clarity. Taking that risk opened a door she never knew existed. Nova realized she learned something important throughout this process. She understood that following a passion is not always easy, but it's essential. It requires courage and patience. The journey may be filled with ups and downs, but it is worth it. Along the way, she discovered support from unexpected places. Even friends like Jenna showed signs of change, slowly coming to understand the importance of art. Different voices starting to speak up created waves of understanding. However, Nova knew that not everything was resolved. There remained challenges ahead. Change never happens overnight. There were still those who viewed art as merely fun and unimportant. Some of her classmates held tightly to their old beliefs. They thought dreams should fall in line with traditional paths, focusing only on academic success. Even within her own heart, doubts occasionally reappeared. Nova continued to grapple with worries about her future. Would she be able to build a lasting path as an artist? Each day, the fear of failure lingered, reminding her of the norms that still existed in the world. But now, Nova understood that some progress is enough. Each small shift counted. As the art week came to an end, Nova felt ready to embrace the ongoing process of change. This journey had taught her to be patient with herself and others. She would continue to paint her truth while encouraging others to do the same. She understood the beauty in each person's journey, realizing how much everyone has to share. Nova's laughter echoed during the celebrations, and she connected better with her peers now. Their differences no longer separated them. They unified them instead. A feeling of happiness spread as she watched students gather around her mural, feeling proud of what they accomplished together. No matter how many challenges lay ahead, Nova felt eager to face them. With dreams holding hands with reality, she realized she could balance passion and practicality. The journey home that night was filled with hope. Nova carried her brush and dreams close to her heart, ready to continue the journey of self-expression. The world felt lighter, filled with colors and stories waiting to unfold. As she walked forward into an uncertain future, Nova felt inspired to keep painting her true path. This was only the beginning, and she was excited to see what the next chapter held. As Nova continued her journey as an artist, she saw exciting changes happening around her. The art week had lifted the spirit of the school. Students became more open to expressing their ideas and feelings. They talked freely about art, music, and even science. Nova felt a sense of unity among them. It was beautiful to watch peers uplift each other, celebrating different paths and dreams. Nova's mural became a center of attention. Each color and line held a story. Students shared what it meant to them. Some felt inspired to start their creative projects. They approached Nova for advice, asking how they could express their own stories through art. Nova happily shared tips, encouraging others to find their voice. This exchange of ideas filled her with joy. She felt true happiness from igniting the creative fires in her friends. Meanwhile, Jenna began to shift her viewpoint as well. While she still held her concerns about the future, she approached Nova, eyes bright and questioning. "I always thought art was just a fun thing, but I see how much passion you have. Maybe I should try something new. Nova smiled warmly, appreciating the honesty in Jenna's words. This conversation was a small but meaningful step toward understanding. It took great courage for Jenna to be open, and Nova felt proud of her classmate. At the same time, some challenges continued to emerge. Not every adult in their lives agreed about the importance of art. Parents still had strong expectations for academic success, wanting their children to follow secure paths. Some teachers remained skeptical of the new art initiatives. There are core subjects to focus on, some would say. But for Nova and her friends, the conversation was just starting. They were ready to advocate for the value of creative expression in schools. As the school year moved forward, more art events began to spring up. The art club created a project called Voices of Art. Each student was encouraged to share their stories through their favorite medium, be it painting, music, or writing. The hallways transformed, filled with color, laughter, and creativity. Nova felt proud to have sparked this change. Each artwork added to a growing tapestry that strengthened their community. Reflecting on her own journey, Nova knew she had taken the first step toward conquering her fears. Art was no longer just a dream but a true part of her life. She understood that resilience and perseverance would shape her future. Not every step would be easy, but she felt stronger and more determined to keep moving forward. As the school year closed, Nova left her mark, not just on the mural but in the hearts of others as well. They had started to see struggles as an essential part of growth and learning. Everyone had a voice, and every voice had value. Nova realized that her dreams could inspire others just as her journey had changed her. She accepted that lasting change takes time, but even small actions can build something great. In the end, as she stood before her mural one last time, Nova posed a question not just for herself but for everyone who would see her work. What dreams are you willing to chase, even if the road is tough? This thought stirred a sense of purpose within her. It reminded her that everyone has the power to embrace their true selves. The journey of creativity and expression was only just beginning, and she hoped to inspire others to join her on this path.